Hi, everyone. It's Diane Evans here with stampinwithdiane.com. I'm an independent Canadian Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the interior of British Columbia. So if this is one of your first times joining me, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. Whether you found me on Facebook or YouTube, I'm thrilled. In any event, if you've joined me through YouTube, make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button that's just down below here, and also the bell, and you get notified immediately as soon as I do go live. If you're part of my Facebook group, you get notifications that I will be going live. Just set the notifications on there. In any event, this is probably one of my favorite of all of the series that I do, or it has been lately anyways. And that's my, how did they do that? And this is my Technique Tuesday. I've been doing this now. We're on episode number 36. So that's kind of amazing considering I was a little slow starting on this. But in any event, I'm glad that I did. And I'm glad that I had the encouragement to do that. In any event, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a really, really old technique. Now, first of all, what happens with this technique thing? Hello, Margaret. What happens with this technique is that I do the technique, and actually I'll just jump on down to the my desktop here. I do the technique. I do it out on this form. And then what's going to happen tomorrow at 9:05 Pacific time is I'll put a picture of the sample that I'm doing there. I'll also I've got a space here for you to put your sample doing this technique. It's really important that you do practice what we've done, so that you don't forget how to do it. Sometimes when you do it once, it sticks with you a little bit better. And then tomorrow what I'll do is I'll put some notes on there if I'm using different sort of supplies or anything like that. I'll have that written down there just so that it's very, very easy reference. Hello, Kathy. How are you? But in any event, this will be posted tomorrow at 9:05 on my Facebook group. Now, that group there's a link down below. You do have to request to be in that group, but by all means, I do approve them all the time. Then when you go to that group, what you do is you go to the file section, and all 36 of them, or 35 at this point, will be all listed there below. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying this series. I know I really am enjoying it. So I have shown this technique on my lives. I've shown it where I've done something else with it and shown that. But what I wanted to do was show you this technique and have it part of the technique series. And this is called the Retiform stamping technique. Now, Retiform, meaning that, or grid is what it could be called too. But Retiform is the actual official name. I can tell you I did this about 20 years ago. I did it a couple times in the last 2 or 3 years since I've been going live. But it really is one of those techniques that it's intimidating to an awful lot of people when they see it. And what they're doing, what happens is that, and I just got to do something here. I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I'm missing some of the comments. But in any event, but it's important that you've got something written down so that you can see it. Also, I'll be putting the YouTube video that has the association with that. Also, if you do go onto my YouTube channel, there is a playlist that I'm starting to put them all in there. And I am working on something else with my sketches as well. I'm looking at trying to put those into a file. But I'm looking also at, I'm changing over my blog to another platform. So I think it might be something that I will do at that point, and it might just be put onto the blog as well. Hello, Linda. All right, so let's get started on this Retiform technique. I am going to use this Seaside Bay stamp set. I think this one, it really is good to use with this. In the instructions here, it says you can use detailed stamps. You could just use words. And you are going to need lots of Post-it note or the masking tape. Now, my preference for this particular technique are Post-it notes. And the masking tape sometimes sticks, and I struggle with getting the masking tape off of my form. Actually, the masking tape, I might even use some of that, is the the Post-it note masking, labeling Post-it note tape. I might use some of that today as well. But in any event, you use the Post-it notes to basically mask off certain sections. So we're going to go through that. If you have any questions as we go along, I can explain how to do that. Like I say, I'm using this one. I originally thought of doing this as a sympathy card, and I really don't like doing sympathy cards, but it's always a good thing to have. It's to have around. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with this Peaceful Moment stamp set. This one's been around for quite a while, but I'm thinking that what I might do is thinking of you with all my heart. Now, this could be if they were sick, or if somebody else is sick, or you know what I mean? So this is one, it's kind of like a supportive type sentiment on there. So I'm going to use that one to begin with. I didn't want to actually do this as a sympathy card, but definitely you could put sympathy on here. All right. So I've got all of these. They're kind of all on blocks here. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So I'm going to do this in fairly neutral colors. And what comes to mind, this piece happens to be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And what comes to mind when I see this is I see blues or sandy tones. So I'm actually going to do an awful lot of it with crumb cake and Night of Navy. Now, for some reason, I can't find my crumb cake. So I'm lucky enough to have one of these. It's still the foam, but it's in the other opening. And then I've got my Night of Navy. And of course, we're going to need our blending brushes. Now, I've got a big blending brush and I've got a smaller blending brush. I don't want the Night of Navy to be too much, so I'm just going to use that with the smaller one there. Now, Post-it notes. You can get good Post-it notes and you can get dollar store Post-it notes. We have some from Stampin' Up that we use. It's in our supply sort of thing. But I'm actually going to use proper Post-it notes. They're kind of a awful looking color, but I'm going to use that anyways. So the words themselves, I'm going to stamp with the Night of Navy so that we can see it. And I'm just going to go down and let's see. Okay, that'll be good. And I'm thinking to myself, I want it to be kind of in this spot. I don't want it right at the bottom. Kind of want it here. Now, normally I wouldn't put the sentiment on first, but because of this particular technique, I wanted to have it on there first. Now, Night of Navy is one of those colors that it gets all over your hands. So you want to make sure it's dry when you go to do this and go onto it. Now, these Post-it notes are going to be our friends. So I'm just going to start putting off a grid, so to speak. Now, like I say, I like the bigger Post-it notes, the big long ones, but I don't know where those ones went to. In any event, we're just going to go here. And all I'm doing is I am basically masking off ways that I don't want that to go. So I'm just have that like that. And now I'm going to come in with my crumb cake. I'm thinking that maybe I'll have that like that. And I'm just going to basically sponge this. And you'll see what the whole purpose of this is. Now, don't forget to sponge in from the side of the one as well. Really like these little tiny ones. Sometimes they can get into spots and we won't get as much on it if I go and use the smaller one. If I use the big one, what happens is sometimes I get it more than where I want it to go. Now, there is the first thing that I've done. Now, normally I would start in an area, but I wanted this part to be, I wanted it to be just a certain spot on there. Now, another thing I didn't do was I didn't take off a shell. I'm going to take this one particular shell and we're going to see how it works on there. Hello, Diana and Carol and Marilyn. Oh my goodness. Okay, All right, we can put that kind of shell, but I'm just going to put it right up there. So now when you see me take this off, this is now going to be like so. Now this is the starting of the Retiform. So now what I want to do is I want to get this down to this bottom. We might as well finish it and then we'll go from the bottom up. One thing that's really important that you do is that you get right to that line. You don't want it to, excuse me, you don't want there to be a white space in between. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this down kind of like that. And just so that I don't get any sponging up there, I'm just putting that over top just so that there's no real sponging on there. All right, so we're just going to go again. Let's get that sponged up. Now it is a bit of a tedious project. The one thing that you have to remember is don't get intimidated by this. You can have as many of these lines or as little of these lines as you want. I'm going to come in with the Night of Navy. Like I say, I just want a tiny bit of that Night of Navy because my stamp-ish images are going to be in the navy as well. Now, what I thought I could do here is put these sandpipers down here. So let's go ahead and we can put those right there. And it has some sand in this stamp set. Have you played with the stamp set? This is actually the stamp set that we're using for our stamp camp. And man, I tell you, it can do some pretty amazing things with it. Now, thinking I might just do a bit more there. All right, so let's come here. And now you're going to start seeing this Retiform thing start taking shape. So see how we've got this now where it's like different images. Now, because I did this jot here, we're just going to have to come in. Remember to get that lined up really good. We're going to work on this side over here. I don't want to come back in over there. And then we also want to make sure that this part is. Now you'll see why it's so important to have really good, whoops, we want that down here. You want to have good Post-it notes because if you don't have a good Post-it note, it's going to flip up and you're going to get coloring underneath it. All right, so let's go ahead and I think we'll put one up like that. So back in with our sponging. Now I always seem to do more of this type of thing with it. Flowers work amazing with this technique. They really, really do. You could have solid, you could have some solid, some two-step stamping might be a little bit more difficult with it, but honestly, it works pretty good. Now I'm going to come in with that bird, and I think we'll use part of that bird there. I want to put the bird up there as well. Look at that, I've got a pearl there. All right, so let's just put this bird right about there. You've never seen anything like this. Well, this is quite an old technique, but it's around there. So see now, we've got that coming like that. So see how that's working? Now, normally I'm going to try to get out of these jots and everything there because I'm tending to have may have some issues with that happening. Sticky parts there. So you want to put the sticky part against the line. Now, this is going to be an interesting, you know what? I'm gonna do up here. So I'm just gonna put this, we're gonna put this on here. There. But you see this part down there? We're gonna have to also put one underneath there. That's not gonna work. Gonna have to come, let's do this like this. I'm gonna come ahead and do some over here. We're gonna go, normally I wouldn't go back and forth on this, but I have to because of that one little notch. So now I've got it going across there. So let's go ahead and start getting a different look here. So I think I'm just going to bring this up like this. And all you have to do is just keep thinking about what you're doing. I want that to go straight to that corner. So maybe what I'll do is I'll do that like that. And then we'll cover this part up so that we don't get any there. And really, whoops, and look, that part we could get some coloring down there, and we don't want any coloring there. So I'm just going to come down here. Now, what I'm just trying to read the comments here. Never too, as Karen says, yes, it's never too late to learn something. That's for sure. And especially when it comes to crafting, right? Tried and old. This is, like I say, quite an old technique. Some people call it grid. I've known it only as the Retiform. Okay, so now what we can do is we can come in with that stamp set that has the pearl in it. Is that good enough of this in there? Let's see. So let's just go ahead and put that right about there. And see, a lot of this it gets masked off, so we don't have too much of a problem with that. Now let's see. Now we've got to come, there's a lot of jogs here. So I'm actually going to go and we're going to put one down there. I have a dog here and I have a funny feeling that she is going to start barking. Okay, so we've got that like that. Now I am going to, this is not what you want. You do not want that to be there. So we're going to have to actually, I'm going to go in and get that sponged, and then I'll show you what I'll do. You're best not to get that kind of a look on there. Remember to come in from the side. You know, it looks like I got a bit of navy on there. Now we're going to come here. We're also going to get that off here. I'll come in with my navy. There we go. Now, when I go to put an image here, and I think I'm going to use the crab on this image, and then that way I can make sure I'm over there and not in this part there. So let's go ahead and put the crab right about there. There. And I should now be, yes, that's what we don't want, are these little sharp edges there, but it actually makes it really quite interesting. All right, so let's put one here. I have an idea of what I want to do up there. I want to put that bird back up there. So I have to kind of have this. Now remember, we want to make sure that these are lined up right on the lines. Let's go back in with the crumb cake. And back with the navy. And then, of course, we want just little things on there. So I'm just going to use this shell. Just like that. And you know what? What's wrong with putting maybe, I really like this one with the other shells and the sand. And just put one little one right there. There we go. So see how this is starting to come together? All right, so I want one bigger one here. I'm going to make sure that there's no jogs in there. And then I can just put one here. So are you seeing how that works? So in with the sponging again. And the reason why you sponge and stamp all at once is you don't want to go back in and have to lay all those Post-it notes down, right? So you do it all together when you've got it all laid out. Like I say, this is one that I think the bird will look really good in. We can get more of the bird in there. There. I like that bird. And then what we can do is we can just have everything all in this one. So again, we want to make sure that we're covering up all those lines there. Now I see that this bottom piece wasn't, and trust me, you're going to like the fact if you use good Post-it notes. I tried this with the dollar store ones, and yeah, they're good for a purpose, but not for this one. See how that's moving around? We don't want that moving, because if that moves while you're doing this, it's going to ruin your effect. So back to here, and this will be the last one that we're doing. So I'm just coming in with my lighter sponge. And again here. Let's go in. Now I had done this one with, and I'd done it in really neat colors. They were in a, I think I did in rich raspberry and some other pretty amazing colors. So yeah, you could do this in anything. It'd be really kind of cool if you could even do this for Valentine's Day in pinks and reds as well. All right, so then I thought I'd come back in with the sandpipers. Yeah, let's do that. Just gonna have the two of them there. Let's put some sand. I know I had just regular sand. There we go. There we go. And you know what? This one could use some more crumb cake in the middle. All right. So we're ready to see what it looks like. Now this one, like I say, could have had a bit of, let's go like that. And let's just get some more crumb cake. There we go. So we've got the thinking of you with all my heart. We've got this navy. You know what we could do too is I could come all over this now. And let's do some more sponging on here. Now, honestly, I don't know how this is going to look, but I think splatters would look really kind of cool on here. But I'm a little worried to do that at this point. Oh, thank you, Diana. You know, if you have any ideas of certain techniques that you'd like to see me do, by all means, just reach out to me or put them. If you're reaching out to me, just make sure you tag me in a Facebook post, or if you do it on YouTube, I usually get all of those right away. All right, so then I thought, well, we might as well make this quite a neutral card. So I can go ahead and put that onto navy. Let's do that. And we could, at this point, we could use those flat opalized pearls. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, geez, I think I might like maybe those essential dots. I think I've got them right here. They might look kind of cool on there. We'll see how those look. Now, I thought also I'm going to put some twine on there. And this baker's twine is the essential pack. So I'm going to come in with the crumb cake because I think that's going to kind of I think twine kind of goes with the seaside sort of look. I have a very naughty dog. Hello, Dolores. Okay, so we've got that. Let's close those up. Now, by tying this, you can use your tweezers to hold it as a third finger, or you could use a glue dot. Or I want to show you, if you don't get this tight, what you can do. So if this is not tight enough, what you could do is come to the back and put some tear and tape and make it so it's tighter right there. You know, I don't want to trim that off too much. Somebody say, not Takita, not naughty. She's just high maintenance. I go out in the morning and she thinks that, oh, wow, I'm hers the rest of the time. Now, these essential dots are actually navy, crumb cake, and white. Let's just put that there. Now, I'm thinking to myself, on the inside, let's go ahead and put some crumb cake on the inside because it is kind of stark. Let's just kind of dirty it up a bit. And I'm going to use probably one of my, other than the bird, I love the bird, but I love those shells with the sand. There, we got that dirtied. I'm going to have to just clean that off. So I don't want it in navy. I'm going to put it in crumb cake. So don't forget, this is the one that I'm using for my stamp camp. Registration closes tomorrow. It's the International Stamp Camp. Yes, you should try this for sure. All right, so I'm just going to put this down here. Just like that. Simple inside. Thinking of you with all my heart. And then at that point, you could put something else in there. Because of the type of card it is, I'm not trying to overdo it. Sometimes simplicity, well, I don't think that technique was simple. It is simple if you just work from the bottom up or the top down, but that sentiment, I wanted it to be part of the grid there. So yes, trees work great for this. Anything. Like, I mean, honestly, I think I'm even thinking that Playing in the Rain would look okay in here too. This. Let's go ahead and put that on there. Let's go ahead and put that right onto the front. Like I say, the best advice I can say is use good Post-it notes. And you won't be discouraged, because honestly, you can run into a lot of problems with the other ones. Now, like I said, oops, that came apart. Oh my goodness, now I'm going to have a hard time tying that. Well, let's try it. Did I only tie it once? Must have. You know what? At this point, then, I'm going to have to come in with those tweezers. Let's just bring those tweezers in, get that good and tight, and tie it again. There we go. There. It's not how I wanted that to go. Okay, so now with these essential dots, let's see how they're going to look. If not, we could put the pearls in there. I just think it's a little too, how do I say, a little too flashy for the type of card that it really is, because it's not meant to be that type of a flashy card, right? So I was thinking these would look good, or maybe even the navy ones. Let's see how they would look. Yeah. I'm going to use just a little one here too. There. Kind of bring it out so it's there. Anyways, that's the technique. That is called the Retiform Technique. Now, other alternatives or different variations that you can actually make with this is, think of it if you want it as a focal point in the front. I'm just looking at the thing here. Oh, Cindy, you've never seen this technique before. Well, it has been around for a while, but yeah, you bet. I love being able to share things with you guys. What else here? Thank you. Hopefully I was clear enough for you, because it really is a simple technique. You just have to wrap your head around the different jags and jogs and everything else. So Retiform Technique. Other variations is, say if I wanted to put that bird in the middle, I would have stamped that bird first and then taken off my grids on there. That looks great with an, I would suggest that you stay away from things that would look better in an oval, because then you're getting away from the grid technique. But you could definitely grid off the center part of your thing there. Other things is you could use more than the two colors that I used, but this was more of a masculine type card that I was kind of thinking of going along. Good. Yes, you could definitely put a focal point. I would love to see that if you've done that. And use different colors. So tomorrow what's going to happen is this is going to be put onto my Facebook group. It's the Stampin' with Diane group. The link is down below. It's below my page. Ask to join, and under the file section at 9:05 will be this file, plus also all the other 35 techniques that I have on there. So anyways, let me just jump back up here. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Like I say, give me some ideas if there's certain things that you'd like to see. I do have ideas there. It's just, I don't, I just, if I've done them, I also have ideas and techniques that you can build upon techniques. There's a lot of different ones that we can do. We can do a lot of an add-on to another technique and that sort of stuff. But I want to get down to some of the other techniques for sure. All right. So tomorrow is Mystery Wednesday. I will have some clues at 12 o'clock. I'm going to put them on at 12 o'clock. These will be 3 things that you could find in your stamp room. It might be like a themed, it might be an animal. Then it could be, I could say purple. I'm not sure that I would do that. And then I could say something else. And usually it might be something that I have to do a card for a future blog post or something like that. I try to get those sort of things done. And so I've got my work sort of planned. But like I say, I'd love to do something for you with different techniques and everything else. So Wednesday is mystery. And if all goes well, I'm looking forward to what I'm doing for my Now What series on Thursday night. It was actually somebody from the launch that said something, probably doesn't really know that they gave me a good idea of what to do. I have trouble sometimes getting stuff for that one as well. In any event, you guys, thanks for watching. Remember, give me the thumbs up, share my video. That's one of the best forms of a compliment that you can give me. And remember to create, because it's great for the soul. Bye for now.